The notification from my banking app made my heart stop. I blinked hard, hoping I was seeing things wrong, but the numbers didn't lie. $50,000. Gone. Just like that. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the transaction history, each swipe revealing another piece of my savings vanishing into thin air. I'm Gianna, and I always thought I was smart with money. Worked 2 jobs through college, saved every penny I could, lived in a cramped studio apartment instead of splurging on something bigger. All of that careful planning reduced to a series of unauthorized transfers in less than 48 hours. This has to be a mistake, I muttered, pacing my small living room. I dialed the bank's fraud department, my fingers practically punching the numbers into the phone. I'm sorry, Ms. Gianna, but these transactions were authorized using your correct credentials, the representative said, her voice frustratingly calm. The transfers were made to 2 accounts, one belonging to Victoria Zimmerman and another to Jarrett Norris. My mother and my ex-boyfriend. The room started spinning. That's impossible, I said, my voice cracking. I never authorized. Then it hit me. Last week, Mom had asked to use my laptop to check her email. And Jarrett. He'd known my passwords from when we were together. I'd been meaning to change them after catching him with his coworker 2 months ago, but I'd put it off. I hung up and immediately called my mother, straight to voicemail, of course. Next, I tried Jarrett. 1 ring, 2 rings, click. Hey, G. His voice was casual, like he hadn't just helped steal my life savings. What's up? What's up? I laughed, but it came out more like a bark. I don't know, Jarrett. Maybe you can tell me why $50,000 just disappeared from my account. A pause. Look, G, your mum and I. My mum and you what? I snapped. Decided to take a vacation with my money? Another pause. She said you'd agreed to help her out. Said you felt bad about how things ended between us and wanted to make it up to me. Are you kidding me? I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. You really expect me to believe that? Gianna, baby, calm down. We can talk about this. Don't baby me. I cut him off. Where's my mother? We're at the airport. Look, it's not what you think. I ended the call and immediately pulled up my location tracking app. Mom had always insisted I keep it on her phone in case of emergencies. For once, her paranoia would work against her. There they were, 2 dots at Newark International Airport. I grabbed my keys and ran to my car, fury burning through my veins. 20 minutes later, I stormed through the airport terminal, following the dots on my phone. I spotted them at a coffee shop near Gate C4. My mother in her designer sunglasses, Jarrett in the leather jacket I'd bought him for his birthday. They were laughing, heads close together over what looked like first-class plane tickets. I started toward them, then stopped. Making a scene wouldn't get my money back. I needed to be smarter than that. My phone buzzed. A text from Clint, my best friend since middle school. Hey, you okay? Your location's showing you at the airport. I typed back quickly. Remember when you said you owed me for covering for you at Sarah Miller's party in 11th grade? Time to collect. How good are you at hacking airline systems? His response was immediate, better than I should be. What's going on? I watched as my mother threw her head back, laughing at something Jarrett said, probably congratulating themselves on how clever they were. My mother and Jarrett just stole my savings, I typed. They're about to take a fancy vacation with my money. Want to help me make sure it's a trip they'll never forget. 3 dots appeared as Clint typed his response. I smiled for the first time since seeing that bank notification. They thought they'd won, thought they could just take advantage of me and fly off into the sunset together. But they had no idea what was coming. My phone buzzed again. Clint's message read, I'm in. What's the plan? I took one last look at the happy couple at the coffee shop, my mother's hand resting on Jarrett's arm like they were old friends. The sight made my stomach turn, but I forced myself to stay calm. They wanted to play games? Fine. Let's play. I turned and walked away, already formulating my revenge. They'd learn the hard way. Karma doesn't just happen. Sometimes karma needs a little push. You want me to do what now? Clint's voice crackled through my car's speakers as I drove home from the airport. Hack into the airline system? Not exactly. I said, merging onto the highway. I need you to create some red flags. Make their names pop up in the system. And how exactly do you expect me to do that without committing a federal crime? I pulled into the parking lot of the coffee shop where Clint worked as an IT manager. That's why I'm coming to see you. You're the expert. 10 minutes later, I was sitting across from Clint at his corner table, watching him type furiously on his laptop. His dark-rimmed glasses reflected lines of code I couldn't begin to understand. Okay, so here's what we know, he said, not looking up from his screen. They're booked on flight AA1432 to Bali tomorrow morning. First-class tickets connecting through Dubai. Of course they got first class, I muttered, clutching my coffee cup. Why fly economy when you're spending someone else's money? Clint looked up, his expression serious. Gee, are you sure you want to do this? I mean, this is your mom we're talking about. The same mom who helped my ex-boyfriend steal my savings. I leaned forward. The same mom who's probably laughing about how she outsmarted her own daughter right now. Fair point. He pushed his glasses up his nose. But we need to be smart about this. We can't do anything illegal. What about that thing you did at your last job? The security flag system? His eyes lit up. Actually, that might work. See, every airline has this automated system that flags suspicious passengers. Usually it's for actual security threats, but I might be able to create a small program that generates certain patterns. Nothing illegal, just enough unusual activity to trigger some extra screening. I felt a smile spread across my face. Keep talking. Well, for instance, he typed something quickly. If someone books a one-way first-class ticket at the last minute, pays in cash, and then has unusual spending patterns. Like draining someone else's bank account. Exactly, he grinned. The system might flag that for extra attention. My phone buzzed. A text from Joanna, my mother's best friend. Honey, did you know your mum's going on vacation with Jarrett? Seems strange. I showed the message to Clint. See? Even her friends think something's off. Perfect, he said, typing faster. That's another angle we can work. Social media. What do you mean? Well, your mum loves posting everything on Facebook, right? And Jarrett's always on Instagram. I nodded, remembering how he'd posted photos with his co-worker while we were still together. So we make sure people notice, tag them in posts about financial fraud, share articles about family betrayal, get their friends asking questions. Can you do all that without it being traced back to us? He gave me a mock-offended look. Please, I've been covering digital tracks since before Mark Zuckerberg was cool. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Joanna. Just saw them at the mall buying designer luggage, using cash. Very unlike Victoria. Perfect timing, Clint said, reading over my shoulder. Screenshot that. We'll need it later. I watched as he worked his magic, fingers flying over the keyboard. There, he said after a few minutes. I've set up automated posts that'll start appearing tonight. Nothing direct, just enough to make people wonder. And the airline system? Already done. Their names are now associated with some interesting patterns. Nothing illegal, just enough to warrant a thorough security check tomorrow morning. How thorough? He smiled wickedly. Let's just say they might want to get to the airport extra early. And maybe pack light. Just then my phone rang. It was my mother. I showed the screen to Clint. Don't answer, he advised. Let her sweat a little. I declined the call and watched as a text message appeared immediately after. Darling, we need to talk. There's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I read aloud, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Is that what we're calling theft now? Clint closed his laptop. You know they're going to try to spin this, right? Make it seem like you're overreacting. Let them try. I stood up, feeling more in control than I had all day. By this time tomorrow, they'll have bigger problems than my hurt feelings. Just remember, Clint called as I headed for the door. Revenge is a dish best served. Through airport security, I finished, grinning. With extra screening. As I walked to my car, another text came through from my mother. Please call me back. You're making a big mistake. I laughed out loud. No, Mom. The big mistake was yours. And tomorrow you're going to learn exactly how big it was. Have you seen this? Joanna slid her phone across the table at the diner where we'd met for lunch. Her Facebook feed showed my mother's latest post, a selfie with Jarrett at some expensive restaurant captioned, "Pre-vacation dinner with my favourite travel companion." Blessed, chaque new beginnings. Charming, I said, pushing the phone back. Did she happen to mention where she got the money for this little adventure? Joanna stirred her coffee, her face tight with concern. I've known your mother for 20 years, Gianna. This isn't like her. Really? I pulled out my own phone showing her the bank statements. Because stealing from me seems exactly like her. Remember when she borrowed my college fund for that spa retreat? That was different, Joanna said, but her voice wavered. She paid that back. After I threatened to report her to the police, I took a sip of my coffee. But this time she's gone too far. $50,000, Joanna. And involving Jarrett? My phone buzzed with a text from Clint. Everything's set. Their names are lighting up security systems like Christmas trees. What are you going to do? Joanna asked, noticing my smile. Before I could answer, the diner's door chimed. I looked up to see Jarrett walking in, his face falling when he spotted me. Gianna, he said, approaching our table. We need to talk. About what? I asked coolly. About how you and my mother stole my savings? Or about how you're planning to spend it in Bali? He glanced nervously at Joanna, then back to me. It's not stealing if we're going to pay it back. Your mom said... My mom said what? I stood up, my voice rising. That it was okay to take my money without asking, that betraying my trust was fine because you're planning to pay it back. Other diners were starting to stare. Jarrett shifted uncomfortably. Look, we just needed a vacation. Your mum's been stressed, and after everything that happened between us... You mean after I caught you cheating? He flinched. That was a mistake. I've been trying to make it right. By stealing my money? I laughed bitterly. That's an interesting way to make things right. My phone buzzed again. Clint, just checked their flight status. They're in for a fun surprise at security tomorrow. Jarrett noticed my smirk. What are you planning, G? Me? Nothing. I sat back down, suddenly calm. Just enjoying my coffee. Shouldn't you be packing? He studied my face for a moment, then pulled out his phone. After a few taps, his eyes widened. Why are people commenting about fraud on your mum's Facebook post? I shrugged. Maybe because fraud is exactly what this is? You need to stop this, he said, his voice low and threatening. Your mum doesn't deserve... My mum doesn't deserve what? Joanna cut in, surprising us both. To face consequences for her actions? To be called out for stealing from her own daughter? Jarrett's phone started ringing, my mother's face flashing on the screen. You should get that, I said sweetly. Wouldn't want to keep your travel companion waiting. He answered the phone, walking away from our table. I could hear my mother's panicked voice even from a distance. What did you do? Joanna asked once he was out of earshot. Let's just say their vacation might not go as smoothly as they planned. I checked my watch. In about 18 hours, they're going to learn a valuable lesson about karma. Gianna. Joanna reached across the table, taking my hand. Are you sure about this? Your mother, despite everything? She's still your mother. A mother who's willing to steal from her daughter doesn't deserve that title. I pulled my hand away. Besides, I'm not doing anything wrong, just making sure the right people ask the right questions. Jarrett stormed back to our table, his face red. Your mother's crying. Are you happy now? Not yet, I said, standing up. But ask me again tomorrow afternoon. As I walked out of the diner, I could hear him calling after me, but I didn't turn around. My phone buzzed one more time, a message from an unknown number. Hi, this is Jalen from the Daily Observer. I heard about your story and would love to talk. This kind of financial exploitation needs to be exposed. I saved the number. A new plan forming in my mind. If my mother and Jarrett wanted attention so badly, maybe it was time to give it to them, just not the kind they were expecting. Perfect timing, I texted back. Let's meet tomorrow. I have a feeling there's going to be quite a story to tell. The cafe where I met Jalen was quiet, just a few early morning customers nursing their coffees. He was easy to spot, young professional with a laptop covered in journalist stickers and a press badge hanging from his messenger bag. Thanks for meeting me, he said. pulling out a chair. I've been following similar stories lately. Family members exploiting each other financially. It's becoming disturbingly common. I placed my phone on the table, screen up, showing the banking app. Well, here's another one for your collection. Mind if I record this? He pulled out his phone. At my nod, he pressed record. So, walk me through what happened. It started 2 days ago, I began, but was interrupted by my phone buzzing. Another message from my mother. Please don't do anything rash. We can work this out as a family. I showed Jalen the message. That's rich coming from someone who's about to board a first-class flight to Bali with my money. How did they get access to your accounts? My mother asked to use my laptop last week, must have watched me enter my passwords. And Jarrett, I paused, remembering how I'd trusted him. He knew them from when we were together. Tell me about Jarrett, Jalen said, typing notes. How does he fit into all this? We dated for 2 years. He charmed everyone, especially my mother. I caught him cheating 2 months ago, but apparently that didn't stop them from becoming travel buddies. My phone buzzed again. Clint, security flags are active. They're going to have fun explaining those suspicious transaction patterns. Jalen leaned forward. You mentioned they took $50,000. That's a significant amount. What were you saving for? A house, I said, my voice catching. I've been saving since college, working extra shifts, living on ramen noodles, doing everything right, and they just took it all, he finished, his expression sympathetic. Have you considered legal action? I've got something better planned. I glanced at my phone's clock, 6:30 a.m. Their flight was at 10. Let's just say their vacation isn't going to start the way they expected. Care to elaborate? I smiled. Let's meet again this afternoon. I have a feeling you'll have a much bigger story by then. Just then, the cafe door opened, and Jarrett walked in. His face darkened when he saw me with Jalen. Really, G? He strode over to our table. Running to the press? That's low even for you. Lower than stealing from your ex-girlfriend? Jalen asked, his recorder still running. Jarrett's eyes darted to the device. Turn that off. It's a public place, Jalen said calmly. Care to comment on the unauthorized transfers from Ms. Gianna's account? This is family business, Jarrett snapped. Family? I laughed. You lost the right to call yourself family when you cheated on me. Or was that when you decided to steal my savings? Your mother needed a break. And my life savings was the solution? I stood up, facing him. Tell me, Jarrett, how exactly were you planning to pay it back? He shifted uncomfortably. We have a plan. A plan? I pulled up my banking app. Like the multiple transfers you made over 2 days? Or the first-class tickets you bought? That kind of plan. Jalen was typing furiously, documenting everything. You don't understand, Jarrett said, his voice dropping. Your mother, she's not in a good place. She needed this. And I needed my savings. Funny how that wasn't a consideration. My phone buzzed again. Clint. Airport security just got an anonymous tip about suspicious financial activity linked to their tickets. They're going to have a great time explaining that. Jarrett's phone rang. My mother again. He answered, turning away from our table. Victoria? Yeah, I'm with her now. She's talking to a reporter. I know. Look, maybe we should postpone. I could hear my mother's voice getting louder through the phone. Jarrett winced and held the phone away from his ear. This is gold, Jalen whispered, still recording. Mind if I stick around until they leave for the airport? I checked the time again. 7 a.m. Trust me, you'll want to be at the airport for what happens next. That's where the real story begins. Jarrett ended his call looking defeated. Your mother's crying again. I hope you're happy. Happiness has nothing to do with it, I said, gathering my things. This is about justice and karma. Speaking of which, shouldn't you be heading to the airport? I hear security lines are especially long today. As Jarrett hurried out, Jalen turned to me. What exactly is going to happen at the airport? I smiled, picking up my coffee. Let's just say some stories are better witnessed firsthand. Meet me at Terminal C in 2 hours. You won't want to miss this. Terminal C was bustling with morning travellers when I arrived. Clint was already there, laptop balanced on his knees, sitting in the coffee shop overlooking the security checkpoint. "They just checked in," he said as I sat down. "Your mother tried to upgrade their seats to an even better class. Guess what happened?" "Tell me." "The system flagged the transaction as suspicious. They had to use their original tickets." He grinned. "First domino down." Jalen joined us, camera ready. "Anything yet?" "Just wait," I said, watching my mother and Jarrett approach security. Mom was wearing her favorite travel outfit, designer everything naturally. Probably bought with my money too. "There they go," Clint narrated, typing. "Right about now." The security agent checking IDs stopped, frowning at his screen. He called over a supervisor. "What's happening?" Jalen asked, raising his camera discreetly. "Their names are triggering security protocols," Clint explained. "Multiple cash transactions, last-minute bookings, unusual spending patterns. All perfectly legal to report, by the way." We watched as the supervisor directed my mother and Jarrett to a separate line. Mom's voice carried across the terminal. "This is ridiculous. Don't you know who I am?" "Oh, they know exactly who you are," I murmured, as another agent approached them with a clipboard. Jarrett was checking his phone frantically. "They're probably seeing all those fraud comments on social media," Clint said. "Amazing how fast news travels, isn't it?" My phone buzzed. "Joanna, Victoria just called me panicking. Something about security problems." "What's going on?" I typed back. "Justice." The security team was now going through their carry-on bags. My mother's face turned red as they pulled out her designer makeup bag. "Mom," we heard the agent say, "can you explain these recent cash transactions?" "That's none of your business," Mom snapped. "This is harassment." "Actually," the agent replied, "it is our business. We've received several reports about suspicious financial activity." Jarrett tried to step in. "Look, there's been a misunderstanding." "Sir, please step back. We need to ask you some questions as well." Jalen was capturing everything. "This is better than I expected," he whispered. A new security agent approached with more papers. "Ms. Zimmerman, Mr. Norris, we need to verify the source of funds used for these tickets." My mother's face went pale. Jarrett started sweating. "Should we tell them?" Clint asked, grinning. "Tell them what?" Jalen looked between us. "That every major airline has an automated system that flags potential financial crimes," Clint explained. "Completely legal to report suspicious activity, and someone," he winked at me, "might have ensured their transaction patterns looked very suspicious indeed." My phone buzzed again, this time from my mother. "What have you done? Please make this stop." I watched as they were led to a private screening room, their faces a mixture of panic and rage. Their expensive luggage was being thoroughly searched, designer clothes spilling out onto examination tables. "Your mother's going to be furious," Jalen said, still filming. "She's already furious," I replied, "but now she's also embarrassed, inconvenienced, and delayed. Just like I was when I discovered they'd stolen my savings." "They're missing their flight," Clint announced, checking his laptop. "No way they're getting through security in time now." "What about the tickets?" Jalen asked. "Non-refundable," I said. "First-class tickets to Bali, paid for with stolen money, now worthless." My phone was buzzing constantly now, messages from my mother, Jarrett, even their friends asking what was happening. I turned it off. "Look," Clint pointed. The security team was now examining their phones, probably seeing all the suspicious transfers. "Ms. Zimmerman," we heard the supervisor say, "we're going to need you to come with us. There are some serious questions about these financial transactions." My mother's perfectly made-up face crumpled. Jarrett looked like he might be sick. "Should we go down there?" Jalen asked, already standing. I shook my head. "Not yet. This is just the beginning." "What do you mean?" I checked my watch. 10:15 a.m. Their flight had just departed without them. "Well," I said, standing up, "now that they've missed their flight and are being questioned by airport security, I think it's time for phase 2. "There's more?" Jalen's eyes lit up. "Of course there's more," I smiled, watching as my mother and Jarrett were escorted to what looked like an interview room. They thought they could steal my money and jet off to paradise. Instead, they're about to learn a very public lesson about karma. Clint closed his laptop. Should I start the social media cascade? I nodded, picking up my bag. Light it up. Let's show everyone exactly who they really are. 3 hours. That's how long my mother and Jarrett spent in the airport security office while their story unraveled like a cheap sweater. Jalen and I watched from the terminal coffee shop as a parade of officials went in and out of the room. Your mother's trending on Twitter, Clint announced, showing me his phone. And vacation fraud is picking up steam. My own phone had started working overtime. Screenshots of my bank statements, alongside photos of their planned luxury vacation, were spreading across social media like wildfire. Look at this, Jalen said, turning his laptop toward me. The local news website's headline read, Mother-son duo caught in airport after alleged theft from daughter. Son? I laughed. Oh, Jarrett's going to love that. Right on cue, the security office door opened. Jarrett emerged first, his designer clothes wrinkled, face ashen. My mother followed, her mascara streaked down her cheeks. Ms. Zimmerman, Jalen called out, rushing forward with his camera. Care to comment on the allegations of stealing $50,000 from your daughter? Other passengers stopped to watch, phones coming out to record the scene. This is a private matter, my mother snapped, trying to shield her face. Private? I stood up, walking toward them. Like privately draining my bank account? Gianna, my mother's eyes widened. You did this? Did what? Report theft. Expose fraud. Yes, Mother, I did. Jarrett stepped forward. You've ruined everything. No, I corrected him. You both ruined everything when you decided to steal my savings. A small crowd had gathered. I recognized some faces from my mother's country club. They were recording everything on their phones. We were going to pay it back, my mother pleaded, noticing the growing audience. When? I demanded. After spending it all on first-class flights and luxury resorts? Your mother needed this vacation, Jarrett insisted. And I needed my savings. My voice echoed through the terminal. I needed the money I worked 2 jobs to save. The money I sacrificed everything for. Security officers approached, looking concerned about the commotion. Is there a problem here? One asked. No problem, I said calmly. Just a daughter confronting her mother and ex-boyfriend about stealing her life savings for a luxury vacation. The officer turned to my mother. Ma'am, we've contacted the Financial Crimes Unit. They'll want to speak with you. My mother's face went from red to white. But our flight has already left, Clint called out, waving from his seat. Without you, non-refundable tickets, remember? Jarrett checked his phone, then groaned. Victoria, we're trending. Everyone's sharing the story. What story? My mother demanded. Jalen stepped forward, professional as ever. The story of how a mother betrayed her daughter's trust, stole her savings, and tried to escape to Bali with her daughter's ex-boyfriend. That story. More phones were recording now. Someone in the crowd shouted, Shame on you! Gianna, please, my mother whispered, reaching for me. We can fix this. I stepped back. Fix what? My empty bank account? My broken trust? Or maybe your ruined reputation? We'll pay it back, Jarrett promised desperately. Every cent. Of course you will, I said. The police will make sure of that. As if on cue, 2 plainclothes detectives approached. Victoria Zimmerman, Jarrett Norris, we need you to come with us. My mother started crying again. Gianna, don't do this. I'm your mother. A mother who stole from her daughter, someone in the crowd muttered. I watched as the detectives led them away, my mother's designer heels clicking against the terminal floor, Jarrett's shoulders slumped in defeat. That's quite a story, Jalen said, reviewing his footage. Mind if I follow up with you later? This is definitely making the evening news. I nodded, feeling strangely empty. Clint appeared beside me, showing me his phone. The story was everywhere now. Local news sites, social media, even a few national outlets picking it up. You okay? He asked softly. Yeah, I said, watching my mother and Jarrett disappear around a corner with the detectives. I just never thought that they'd actually face consequences. That karma would work so fast. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Joanna. Just saw everything online. I'm so sorry, honey. I had no idea Victoria could do something like this. I typed back, neither did I, but now everyone knows exactly who she is. Clint put his arm around my shoulders. Come on, let's get out of here. I think they're going to be busy for a while. As we walked out of the terminal, I heard someone whisper, "That's her, the daughter they stole from." But for the first time in days, I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt powerful. They'd tried to take everything from me, but in the end, they'd lost far more than money. They'd lost their reputation, their freedom, and most importantly, they'd lost me. The police station was buzzing with activity when I arrived the next morning. Detective Rivera had called asking me to come in and give a formal statement. As I walked through the lobby, a familiar voice stopped me dead in my tracks. "Gianna, please just talk to me." My mother sat on a bench near the entrance, still wearing yesterday's clothes, looking nothing like the polished socialite she usually portrayed. Her makeup was smeared, her designer outfit wrinkled from spending the night in holding. "There's nothing to talk about," I said, walking past her. "I'm your mother." She jumped up, grabbing my arm. "You can't just destroy my life like this." I yanked my arm away. "Like you destroyed my savings?" "It was a mistake," she pleaded. "I'll fix it. I'll sell my jewelry, my car, anything." "Ms. Zimmerman," a stern voice called out, "please step away from the witness." Detective Rivera approached, her badge glinting under the fluorescent lights. "Gianna, thank you for coming in. Follow me, please." As we walked to her office, I could hear my mother sobbing dramatically. Classic Victoria. Always the victim, never the villain. "Your ex-boyfriend has agreed to cooperate," Detective Rivera said, closing her office door. "He's providing details about how your mother convinced him to help access your accounts." "Of course he is," I muttered. Jarrett always was good at saving his own skin. A knock at the door interrupted us. Another detective poked his head in. "Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this." He handed Rivera a tablet. On the screen was a local news website featuring Jalen's story. The headline read, "Mother's betrayal goes viral. Social media erupts over family financial fraud." "Your story's gaining traction," Rivera said, showing me the tablet. "We've received calls from 3 other families reporting similar incidents." My phone buzzed. A message from Joanna. "Turn on Channel 7 now." I pulled up the local news live stream on my phone. There was Jarrett being led out of the station in handcuffs, reporters swarming around him. "Mr. Norris, did you help steal from your ex-girlfriend? Was this revenge for the breakup? How long have you been involved with Ms. Zimmerman's mother?" Jarrett kept his head down, but I could see his face was red with shame. "We've frozen their assets," Rivera continued. "The good news is we should be able to recover most of your money." Another knock. This time it was my mother's lawyer looking harried. "Detective, my client would like to make a deal." "A deal?" I laughed. "Let me guess. She'll pay everything back if I drop the charges." The lawyer adjusted his tie uncomfortably. "Ms. Zimmerman is willing to make full restitution plus interest. She's also prepared to make a public apology." "How generous," I said, standing up. "But this isn't about money anymore." "Gianna, please," the lawyer started. "No," I cut him off. "She needs to learn that actions have consequences, that she can't just buy her way out of everything." My phone buzzed again. Clint this time. "Check your email. You've got interview requests from 3 major networks." Rivera raised an eyebrow. "This is getting bigger than expected." "Good," I said. "Let everyone see what they did." Suddenly, shouting erupted from the lobby. We rushed out to find Jarrett and my mother face to face, screaming at each other. "This is your fault," Jarrett yelled. "You said she'd never find out." "My fault?" my mother screeched. "You're the one who knew her passwords. Because you asked me to help. You said we deserved this vacation." "Deserved?" I called out, making them both turn. "You deserved to steal my life savings?" The lobby had gone quiet, everyone watching the drama unfold. "Honey," my mother tried again, "we can fix this. Just tell them you don't want to press charges." "Press charges?" I stepped closer. Mother, I want them to throw the book at you, both of you. But I'm your mother. No, I said, my voice steady. A mother protects her child. A mother builds her daughter up, not tears her down. You're just a thief who happened to give birth to me? The silence in the lobby was deafening. Officers were recording on their phones. Somewhere, a camera flashed. Take them back to holding, Rivera ordered. We're done here. As they were led away, my mother called out one last time, Gianna, please, don't do this to me. But I was already walking out the door, head held high. My phone buzzed with another message from Jalen. Stories going national. Ready for your interview? I looked back at the station where my mother and ex-boyfriend were facing the consequences of their actions. Yes, I replied. It's time everyone heard the truth. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as my mother and Jarrett emerged from their sentencing hearing. Their designer clothes had been replaced by modest business attire, a far cry from the luxury vacation wear they'd planned to flaunt in Bali. Restitution of all stolen funds plus interest, Clint read from his phone, showing me the court's decision. Community service, probation, and mandatory financial counselling. Don't forget the restraining orders, Jalen added, snapping photos. His exposé had gone viral, leading to a book deal about family financial abuse. My mother spotted me and started walking over, but her lawyer held her back. The restraining order was already in effect. Ready for your speech? Joanna asked, squeezing my hand. I nodded, approaching the podium where several microphones were set up. The crowd quieted as I cleared my throat. Today isn't about revenge, I began. It's about justice, not just for me, but for everyone who's ever been betrayed by the people they trusted most. Cameras flashed. I could see my mother crying silently in the background. Since this story broke, hundreds of people have reached out with similar experiences. Parents stealing from children, partners betraying partners. The cycle ends here. Jarrett tried to slip away, but reporters swarmed him. Mr. Norris, how does it feel to be known as the man who helped rob his ex-girlfriend? He ducked his head, hurrying down the steps. The court's decision today sends a message, I continued. Family ties don't excuse criminal behavior. Trust, once broken, has consequences. My phone buzzed, a message from the domestic violence shelter where I'd been volunteering. Your story helped 3 more victims come forward today. Thank you. To anyone watching who's been victimized by family members, I said, don't stay silent. Don't let them guilt you into compliance. Stand up. Speak out. There are people who will help. As I stepped away from the podium, Detective Rivera approached. The DA wanted you to know. 2 more cases like yours are going to trial next week. You started something important here. My mother made one last attempt to reach me, calling out across the crowd. Gianna, I'm still your mother. You can't just throw away family. I turned to face her. You threw away family when you chose greed over your daughter. The mother I needed died the day you stole my savings. The reporters went wild, cameras flashing everywhere. What's next for you? Someone shouted. I'm working with lawmakers to strengthen penalties for family financial abuse, I replied. And thanks to the court-ordered restitution, I'm finally buying that house I saved for. Clint appeared at my side. Speaking of which, your real estate agent called. That place we looked at last week just accepted your offer. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. My mother's attempt to steal my dream had only made it happen faster. Any final words for your mother? A reporter called out. I looked at Victoria one last time, this woman who'd given me life but tried to steal my future. She was sobbing into her lawyer's shoulder, her carefully crafted image shattered. Just this, I said. Thank you for teaching me what a mother shouldn't be. I won't make the same mistakes. As we walked away, Joanna linked her arm through mine. Your father would be so proud of you today. Ms. Gianna? A young woman ran up, tears in her eyes. Your story gave me the courage to report my own mother's theft. Thank you. More people approached, sharing similar stories. What had started as personal justice had become a movement. Ready to go? Clint asked, keys in hand. The shelter's waiting for that donation you promised. I nodded, taking one last look at the courthouse. My mother was being led to a waiting car, Head bowed. Jarrett had already disappeared. You know, Jalen said, reviewing his photos, when I first heard this story, I thought it was about revenge. But it's really about breaking cycles, isn't it? And building something better, I added, thinking of the house I'd soon call home. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. My phone buzzed with another message, this time from the lawmakers I'd been working with. Bill passed committee. Family Financial Abuse Prevention Act moves to full vote next week. I smiled, pocketing my phone. They'd tried to steal my dream, but instead, they'd given me a purpose. Every person who came forward, every law changed, every cycle broken, that was the real victory. Let's go, I said, walking toward the future I'd saved for, earned, and finally claimed as my own. We've got work to do.